I'd like to bring on stage the brains behind the brand. So ladies and gentlemen, please, huge round of applause for our CEO and founder, Safaraz Ali.
Don't know about brains, but definitely one of the team and proud to be part of the team. So thank you so much, Kasim. Thank you so much, Charlotte, and everybody here who's here, who's supporting us, who's been supporting us throughout the many years. A particular welcome and thank you to everybody who's come from far. Much appreciated. Welcome to Birmingham. We love the city. I'm born and bred in Birmingham, and I feel like I'm an ambassador of Birmingham, even if I'm self-proclaimed. So thank you guys. Much appreciated. I want to talk to you a little bit about branding. And when you think about me and you look at me, I'm 50 something, and I'm definitely not a Pat Chapman. I'm definitely not a Kasim Chowdhury. And nor am I a Sakawan. So what is a 50-something going to talk about branding? And what gives me the right to do so? Partly because it's not really about branding the way marketing guys talk about branding. It's a lot more than that. It's about experience. So I want to talk to you about this word that we keep talking about, brand promise. So whenever somebody talks about branding, they talk about the promise. Our promise, whether it's to customers, whether it's to learners, learners or employers, customers, to ourselves, to our employees, to our team members, we talk about promise. And today it's about our promise. We've got you here, and if you don't get the experience that you had hoped for, then potentially that's not a great win for us. And at the same time, if you go out there and we can deliver a fantastic event, you collaborate, you network, you meet people, and you think, you know what, I've come out of my normal work and I've actually gained something, then what's going to happen is the work is going to make the difference. We're not going to say it. It's going to be our work. And I think that's the key, isn't it? It's about let the work do the talking. It's not about us doing the talking. It's about the work doing the talking. So I said I'm 50-something years old. But when I was 20-something, 28, this is what I thought. So this is in the year 2000. I thought, we need to differentiate. We need a USB. We need to stand out from the crowd. And we need to have something that gives us that little bit slight edge. That competitive edge. What gives us that? And people used to say to us, you haven't got a network, you haven't got a black book, you haven't got any connections, nobody knows you. Nobody knows you, nobody's aware of you, and at the same time, you haven't got any contacts. And my mind sort of changed to a certain level because we let our work do the talking. What happened suddenly it wasn't about who we knew or who I know. It was about who knows us and what they know us for. So suddenly the work that we were doing was making such an impact, that the word of mouth of our work actually spread. And that made the difference. So our work effectively made that impact and allowed us to actually grow. So for me, it's that saying now that it's not about who I know, it's about who knows us and what they know us for. So as soon as hopefully people think about diversity, equity, inclusion, our name hopefully comes in conversation some way. We hope that, we aspire to that, and that's what we're working to, that's what we're aspiring about. So how is that relevant to us? When we're talking about this, how is that relevant to us? Because a lot of it is about people, isn't it? So everything's about people. When you talk about, organizations successing, successful organizations struggling, it's all about the people, the team, and how they work together and how they're making that impact. So for us, it's about how we attract, retain, and grow our people to then hopefully grow our business. And not just ourselves, but how we actually enable that with our customers. That's effectively what we're talking about. And when you talk about the brand promise, this word comes in our conversation. Big, powerful word, trust. And when people talk about trust, everybody's got their own definition of trust. And when you're talking about trust from a person perspective, can you trust this person to do the job? You're not just talking about, can they do it? You're talking about their intent, you're talking about the integrity, you're talking about the capability, you're talking about the results, and that's broken down. It's a complicated aspect of it in terms of how we judge people, how we look at individuals, and how we think the fact that this person is the right fit for us, and how we can work with that individual. Kasim spoke about change, and I love this quotation here. This is one of my favorite quotes from a chap called Alvin Toffler, and he talks about that ability to actually change, and he's got his own quotation here that I'll let you read. And if you think about apprenticeships, how they've been sold and how we've actually evolved over that period of time, there was a time that the government themselves used to sell apprenticeships using these names here, part of their marketing. So they sold apprenticeships on the basis of, these guys were successful. Do you know some of their names? Anyone want to shout out? No? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So they're all apprentices in their own way. And the government thought that it's a fantastic idea if they do campaigns around these individuals. Now, because of how things have changed and how evolved, organizations are selling themselves on the brands. So when you're a learner provider, when you're a learning organization, and you're going out and talking to young apprentices, you're talking to parents, you're talking to people out there about skills, you're often selling the employer. Employers themselves are selling their name, their brand. And you've got big names here. But at the same time, how does an SME organization then work in this market? If you're competing with all these, how are you going to compete with all of the names? Because they're well recognized names. Again, the National Apprenticeship Awards, all big names, predominantly big names. How are you going to compete with that? And the way we compete often is about the people. So we prefer to actually have our people right at the front of the front, because it's people behind the actual organization that attracts the additional people, because we all know people buy from people. Again, this is what we're doing. We're showcasing individuals who are role models, who are inspirational people, and we've been doing that since 2006 on our journey. The journey is still evolving. Yeah. And if you think about the journey, many of us here have said this. I'm the first in my family to do what? to get a degree. But we're looking to move that to this. First in my family to undertake to do an apprenticeship. It's not going to be overnight. A quote from a young individual. And those individuals are actually becoming role models. And they are showcasing, because once you've seen the light, you want to go and talk to 100 other people. Because you're saying, well, you know what, you're missing out. You're missing out. And this fear of missing out is what drives additional people. But there has to be some substance to it. There has to be some substance behind that. And these are the conversations that people are having. It's still the conversation about university and apprenticeships. That's not the only conversation, but it's still a conversation. There's another conversation about the economy. How we actually get more people to, how do we attract those individuals? How do we retain them? How do we grow those individuals to help grow our business? Part of the issue that we have is that Brown University is mega strong. You can't forget it. And whether you're my age, slightly older, younger, it's very hard to forget this because it's just in our minds. Education, education, education. 50% of all individuals need to get to university. A benchmark that was set. Don't know what drove that, but it's a fantastic soundbite, isn't it? Fantastic soundbite. But who leads on brand apprenticeship? Is he the son of Tony Blair, Ewan Blair? Not necessarily. I think it's these individuals and many, many others. Yeah. We've heard this 20 years. We misunderstood all the sort of nuances. We can't keep selling it on this. We've got to sell it on something else. We've got these issues going on now. Not enough people, whether the word is banned or not enough people from multi-ethnic backgrounds, BAME backgrounds, are still going down this route. And when they are, they're finding the fact that it's actually quite difficult getting an apprenticeship. It's not an easy thing, getting an apprenticeship, particularly with regard to some of these blue chip companies. So again, we're saying targets are there, fantastic, but it's about collaboration, it's about teamwork, it's about us as an organization within this sector, working and collaborating together, creating ecosystems, getting into a position where we can actually help, support, connect, learn from best practice, and actually drive the conversation. There's a report after report which actually states the case that this is the way. Whether it's one word or another, they're talking about this again and again and again. But it's about people who are at the ground level, whether you're an employer, whether you're a learning provider, whether you're an individual who's in the audience, you're all part of the solution. So the journey is there, but I tell you one thing. It's about the experience. So when we talk about branding, we're talking about the experience, about that brand promise. When you're talking about businesses, the utopia for businesses, that they want their customers to buy. They want their customers to buy more, and they buy more often. That's what every guru will tell you. Every strategy person will tell you it's about customer maximization. And what you want your customers not to buy once, lifetime value of a customer. So lifetime value of a customer, you want your customers to initially buy from you. You want them to buy from you more and more often. That's it. But when it comes to staff, employees, what you want is these things. You definitely want engagement, whatever that looks like in your organization. You want them all engaged. You want them rallying. You want them on your purpose, mission, vision. You want them to have the behaviors of your organization. You definitely want loyalty. You want them you want to retain. We all know how difficult it is to find the right level of staff, and people leave people leave managers, not necessarily organizations. So you've got that issue, and you want them to make a difference. You want them to make a meaningful difference. You want them to make an impact. So it's about differentiation. Right at the beginning, I said, how do we actually make that difference? When I was 28-year-old, I thought, how do we make that difference? How do we stand out? How do we tell our story? How do we get that competitive edge? And in some cases, it's just a small, slight differentiation. How do we do that? It's trust. It's the story to tell trust. I want to thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your encouragement. We're on a journey. We want to get your support. We want to work with you. And we want to thank you for all your positivity, all your encouragement, all your advice and guidance. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.